Now in this set it says that in an inter-school events, students from 5 different schools, that is APS, BPS, CPS, TPS and EPS, they are participating, and there were at least 2 students and at most 10 students from each school, and the total number of students from all the 5 schools put together is a perfect square. So this is a very important information. The total number of the student is perfect square, and from each school there is at least 2 students participating and at the most 10 students are participating. Further it says that the student participated in 5 different events, and those events were dance, science modeling, essay writing, paper presentation and singing. Now each student participated in exactly one of the above mentioned events. Further, the following informations are known. So there are 7 information known, and using this information what we have to identify is that how many students from each of these schools participated in each of these events, right? So effectively we have to completely fill this particular table, as you can see. So these are the schools, these are the events, and in this cell we'll be putting the numbers which will represent the number of students from that particular school who are participating in that particular events, correct? So let's start with the first condition. So the first condition says that the number of students participated in science modeling was exactly half the number of students who participated in each of the other events. So for science modeling, if the number of students participated in say X, then in each of the other events the total number of students who are participating would be equal to 2 of X, correct? So we can say that the total number of students who are participating in all these 5 events will be equal to sum of these, right? So it is 2x plus x plus 2x plus 2x, which comes out to be 9 of x. And it is also given that the total number of students participating is equal to what? Perfect square. And the maximum student from each of the school is 10. So if we want to find the range of the total number of students, then we can say that there are 5 schools and the minimum number of students participating from each school is 2. So obviously the least number of students who could have participated in the entire event would be 10. And the maximum number of students who can participate in each of the school is 10. So the maximum number of students in total who can participate in the inter-school competition is 50. So the total number of students will range from 10 to 50, correct? And here we have identified that the total number of students is 9 of x, and this 9 of x has to be a perfect square which is between 10 and 50. So if 9 of x is perfect square, then obviously we can say that since 9 is a perfect square, then x2 have to be a perfect square, then only the product will also be a perfect square. So the possible value of x is either 1, 4, 9, so and so forth, right? So if I put the value of x to be 1, then the total number of students is 9, but there are at least 10 students who are participating in the event. So we can say that the value of x cannot be 1. The other value of x is 4. So in that case 9 into 4 will make it 36, right? So this is one of the possibilities. We can't take 9 because the total number of students will be 9 into 9, that is 81, and we know that the maximum number of students who can participate is 50. So obviously the only possible value of x is 4, and which gives that the total number of students who are participating in these 5 events from across all the 5 schools is 36. So we can say that the value of x is known, so we can straight away write these value of x or substitute the value of x here to get the actual number of students in each of the events. So in dance there will be 8, in science modeling there will be 4, and in all other it will be 8, and the total number of students who are participating would be 36, right? I hope this is clear till now. Now let's take the second condition. It says that APS send an equal number of students in dance, essay writing and paper presentation. So let us assume that APS sent a number of students in each of these 3 categories. So it is A in essay writing also and A in paper presentation also, correct? Now third condition is that the maximum number of students sent by EPS is in the paper presentation event, and each school send at least 1 student in the paper presentation and dance event. So we can say that in this particular row of dance, none of the cell will take 0 as the value. So let me write this, let me represent it like this, right? That none of the cell will take 0. Then only we can say that each of the school have sent at least 1 student in the event dance. Similarly, in paper presentation also, every school send at least 1 student. So again we can say that in this row will not be filling any cell with number 0. And it also says that the EPS send the maximum number of students in paper presentation only. So we can say that this cell has to be filled with maximum value in this compared to this column. So let me represent this. So it will tell me that in this column the maximum value will be put at this particular cell, correct? Now let's take the next condition, and it says that the number of students from BPS is 2 more than the than that from APS, which in turn is 1 more than that from CPS, which in turn 1 more than DPS, which in turn is 1 more than EPS. So from here we can say that the least number of student is from EPS, right? So let us assume that y is the number of student for which was sent by EPS. So in DPS the number of student has to be 1 more than EPS. So in DPS it should be y plus 1, and in CPS it should be 1 more than DPS, so it should be y plus 2, and in APS it is 1 more than CPS. So in CPS it is y plus 2, so in APS it has to be y plus 3, and in BPS it is 2 more than APS, right? So it is it would be y plus 5, correct? Now again we can say that the sum of these 5 have to be 36, because these are the number of students and the total number of students is 36. So if I add them, then we'll be getting it as 5 of y plus 3 plus 5 plus 2 will make it 10, 10 plus 1 is 11, which is equal to 36. So from here we can say that the value of y is 5. So we have also found the total number of students from each of the schools which have participated in these 5 events, right? So here it would be 8, here it would be 10, here it would be 7, here it would be 6, and here it would be 5. Now let's take the fifth condition. It says that except EPS, all the other schools send at least one student in the science modeling. That simply means that from EPS, no student is participating in science modeling, or we can say that there are 0 number of students who are participating in science modeling from EPS. Now we also know that the total number of students who are participating in science modeling is 4 only, right? And each student except EPS have sent at least one student to science modeling. That simply means that from APS there will be one student who will be participating in science modeling. Similarly from BPS also, CPS also, and DPS also, right? So we have completely filled the data for row 2, right? Now let's move to condition number 6, and it says that the number of students sent from BPS in each of the event is different, and there were no students from BPS in the essay writing. So if there are no students from BPS in essay writing, then this column, this cell should be filled with 0. And it also says that the in each of the event the number of students who participated from BPS are different. So we can say that in these cells, in this cell all the values have to be different and the total has to be 10, right? So it is quite simple to understand that. Let me just make space. So it is quite simple to understand that the value have to be 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. These are the only possibilities wherein all these 5 number has to be different and the sum will be 10. So we have already filled 0 and 1. So we have to fill 2, 3 and 4 in the rest of the 3 cells. Now let's take the 7th and the last condition. It says that the number of students in singing event sent by all school other than BPS is equal. So if I look at singing other than BPS, then all the values at these 4 cell has to be equal. Now if the value is say 1, then 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 will make it 4. But the total of these 5 has to be 8, right? In that case, we have to put the value 4 here, right? And if the value at these cells is 2 each, then in that case, we'll find that 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 will make it 8. And here we have to put 0. But we can't put 0 here because all the values have to be different in the column of BPS, and 0 has already been put for essay writing. That simply means that in all the places, we have to put 1 in each of these cells, which will ensure that the value here have to be 4. So we have also put 4 in its respective position. So we are left with 2 and 3. So let's move to the column 1, and it says that the value at dance, essay writing and PP and paper presentation has to be equal, right? And the total sum has to be 8. And out of this, 1 is already been assigned to singing and 1 is already been assigned to science modeling. So the balance is 6. So 6 has to be divided equally in these 3 areas. So obviously all these 3 values have to be 2. So the value of A here is 2. So let me just replace this value of A with 2. So it is 2, this is also 2 and this is also 2. Correct? And in fact we have also done with 8. So let me just circle it. Now if I look at the last column, that is EPS column, then we can see that in dance none of these cells will take 0 as the value, right? So the minimum value I have to put is 1. So here we can't put it 0. So we have to put it 1 at least, right? So 1 plus 1 will make it 2, and there are 2 places left. And in these 2 places, we have to ensure that the maximum value should go to two paper presentation in compared to all these 5. So obviously we have to substitute 1 at this place and 2 at this place. Then only we can say that 2 is the maximum among 1, 0, 1, 2 and 1. Correct? Now let us focus on, so we are also done with this 5 in fact, right? So we have done with this. In fact, we have also filled this 8. Now let us focus on paper presentation. Now all these values, all these 3 values cannot be 0, or none of these 3 values can be 0, right? So the minimum value has to be 1 at least, and 2 plus 2 is already 4. So out of 8, 4 is left, and there are 3 places, and we cannot put 1 at this place, right? Because 1 has already been put at this place, and we can see that the only possibility for this cell is either 2 or 3, right? So if I take 2 or 3 here, and I cannot put 0 at any of these places, so the minimum value I can take is 1. So if I take 2, 1, 2 and 1, then the total comes out to be 6. That means that I have to take 2 at this cell rather than 3, which means that we have also completed the column 2. So here it will be 2. So by default here it will be 3. Now again, if we see the first row, that is row of dance, then 2 plus 3 is 5 and 5 plus 1 is 6. So obviously at these two places we can't put 0, so we have to put 1 each so that the total comes out to be 8. So we are also done with this. In fact, we have also done with this, and we are left, we have done with this also, right? So we are left with these two places. So as we can see that the total sum has to be 7. So this is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. So we have to put 3 here. And in this row the total has to be 8, so it is 2 plus 3, that is 5, 5 plus 1 is 6, so we have to put 2 here. So we can see that in this column also the total sums comes out to be 6. So now we have completely filled the table, so we can now move to the question. So let's take the first question. It says that in which event did BPS send the maximum number of students? So maximum number of student BPS is sending is in singing, so option 3 is the right answer. Now second question is that how many schools did not send even a single student in a particular event? So we can see that we have to look for zeros. So zeros is that BPS didn't send any student for essay writing, and EPS didn't send any student for science modeling event. So answer for this question is 2. Now the third is which school sent the maximum number of students in essay writing? So in essay writing the maximum number of student is 3, and that is sent by CPS. So option A is the right answer. And let's take the last question. Which among the following is definitely false? So first option is that the number of students sent by APS and DPS in essay writing event is the same. So APS and DPS both are sending 2 students. So obviously this is true. So this cannot be the answer. Second option is except in the essay writing event, DPS send an equal number of students in each of the event. So except in essay writing, DPS is sending equal number of students in each of the event, as we can see. So again this is true. So this cannot be the answer. So third option is that none of these school sends more than 4 students in any of the event, which is also true, as we can see that 4 is the maximum number of students sent to a particular event by a particular school. So obviously this is also correct. So this is not the answer. So the fourth option is obviously none of these. So this is the option